What's the cause for all this stress? We're living in very trying and difficult times, and things don't seem to be getting any easier. Sometimes life can seem terribly painful and unfair, yet somehow we manage to struggle on, day after day, hoping and praying that things will soon get better. But day by day, the world is becoming a crazier and more uncertain place to live in, not to mention stressful. Nothing seems safe anymore. Millions of people are in record levels of debt. Many are losing their jobs, their homes, their health, and sometimes even their sanity. Worry, depression, and anxiety seem to have become a way of life for far too many people. We seem to have entered the age of anxiety. In fact, in 2002, the cover of Time magazine proclaimed this loud and clear on one of their covers as the featured story in that issue. The constant stress and uncertainties of living in the 21st century have certainly taken their toll, and as a result, many of us seem to live a life of constant fear and worry. When the terrorist attacks happened on September 11th, this constant stress and worry seemed to just be magnified. In fact, many people now, even 4 years later, report they are still scared that something of that magnitude could happen again, perhaps closer to them. Turn on the news or open up a newspaper, and we are bombarded with disturbing images and stories. We begin to wonder if we are safe anywhere. In this, the information age, never before have we had so much access to so much data. The economy is another stressor. Our country is in debt, and so are many Americans. Soaring gas prices, outrageous housing costs, even the cost of food has sent many Americans to work in jobs that are unsatisfying and tedious. They work these jobs because they need a paycheck. Today, it's more important to bring home the bacon rather than work in a dream career. Having more women in the workplace adds to the stress. So many women feel the need to be everything to everyone, and that includes a paycheck earner, housekeeper, mom, wife, daughter, and sibling. The only problem with that is some women just don't make any time for themselves, thus contributing to their stress levels being at an all-time high. Even children can feel the pressure of stress and anxiety. Teenagers who want to go to college find themselves pushing themselves during their studies to try and obtain scholarships so they can attend schools that have ever-increasing tuition costs. They find themselves having to hold down part-time jobs on top of all of that to earn money for extras that their parents can no longer afford. Add peer pressure into the mix, and you have a veritable pressure cooker. Smartphones, tablets, the internet, social networks, laptops, etc. We are always on the go and always reachable. We don't make time to relax and enjoy life anymore. Why not? We certainly should. We feel pressure to do these things because we think we have to, not because we want to. All too often, it's difficult for people to just say no. Not saying that one little world piles up unneeded expectations and obligations that make us feel anxious. All of us will experience situations that may cause us to become stressed or feel anxious. The reasons are too many to note, but can include buying a property, having guests stay over, in-laws, being bullied, exams, looking after children, managing finances, relationship issues, traveling, etc. Stress is a normal function of everyday life. Only when it appears to take over our lives does it then become a problem. Everyone will have different reasons why a situation causes them pressure. As a rule, it's usually when we don't feel in control of a situation, then we feel its grip tightening around us, causing us to feel worried or stressed. If stress is caused by us not feeling in control of a situation, the answer is to try and reverse this and regain that control. The good news is, you can. You have everything inside you that you need to overcome your stress and the accompanying anxiety. The problem is, often we don't realize that we are in control because we feel so out of control at times. But the tools are there, you just have to use them. Let's first look at the barriers we put up that are preventing us from being healthy and getting rid of our anxiety and stress. Avoiding behaviors that fuel stress. There are 3 obsessive behaviors that you are likely to be engaging in that impeded your healing process and stop you from enjoying a stress-free life. Recognizing these barriers can be a great first step toward getting rid of the problems that go with being too stressed. The first is obsessive negativity. When you are obsessively negative, it means that you have a tendency toward being negative about people, places, situations, and things in your life. Perhaps you find yourself saying things like, "I can't do this," or no one understands, or nothing ever works. For example, you may be doing this unconsciously, but essentially, you have what's known as a sour grapes attitude, and it holds you back from knowing what it's like to view life from a positive lens and enjoy the beauty in yourself and people around you. There's a whole world out there for you with happiness and positive thinking. Then you have obsessive perfectionism. When you engage in obsessive perfectionism, you are centered on trying to do everything just so, to the point of driving yourself into an anxious state of being. You may find yourself making statements such as, I have to do this right, or I'll be a failure. Or, if I am not precise, people will be mad at me. Again, this behavior may be totally under the threshold of your awareness, but it interferes greatly with your ability to enjoy things without feeling uptight and stressed. Finally, there is obsessive analysis. When you are obsessed about analyzing things, you find yourself wanting to rehash or task over an issue over and over again. For instance, you might find yourself making statements such as, I need to look this over, study it, and know it inside and out, or else I can't relax. Or, if I relax and let things go without looking them over repeatedly, things go wrong. While analytical thinking is an excellent trait, if it's done in excess, you never get to stop and smell the roses because you're too busy trying to analyze everything and everyone around you. Gaining insight into this type of behavior is one of the most important keys to letting go of stress and getting complete power over your anxiety. What can you do to counteract these? If you find yourself engaging in any of the above blocking behaviors, there are two things you can do to help yourself. First, ask the people you know, love, and trust, am I negative about things? Do I complain a lot? Am I difficult to be around? This may be hard for you to listen to, as the truth sometimes hurts a great deal. But the insight you will get from others' assessments of you is invaluable, and you'll know precisely how others see you. Accept their comments as helpful info, and know that you will gain amazing insights from what you hear. Second, keep a journal to write down and establish patterns of when you are using blocking behaviors. Even if you are not thrilled with the idea of writing, you can make little entries into a notebook or journal each day. The great part is that you'll begin to see patterns in your behavior that reveal exactly what you're doing to prevent yourself from curing your anxiety. We'll give you some great stress-busting techniques later in this book, but you need to recognize these blockages first so you can move into the healing stage and conquer your stress and anxiety. Many people think that stress and anxiety are the same thing. This couldn't be further from the truth. Stress versus anxiety. Contrary to popular belief, there is a difference between stress and anxiety. Stress comes from the pressures we feel in life as we are pushed by work or any other task that puts undue pressure on our minds and body. Adrenaline is released, extended stay of the hormone causes depression, a rise in the blood pressure, and other negative changes and effects. One of these negative effects is anxiety. With anxiety, fear overcomes all emotions accompanied by worry and apprehension, making a person a recluse and a bag full of jitters. Other symptoms are chest pains, dizziness, and shortness of breath and panic attacks. Stress is caused by an existing stress-causing factor or stressor. Anxiety is stress that continues after the stressor is gone. Stress can come from any situation or thought that makes you feel frustrated, angry, nervous, or even anxious. What is stressful to one person is not necessarily stressful to another. Anxiety is a feeling of apprehension or fear and is almost always accompanied by feelings of impending doom. The source of this uneasiness is not always known or recognized, which can add to the distress you feel. Stress is the way our bodies and minds react to something which upsets our normal balance in life. An example of stress is the response we feel when we are frightened or threatened. During stressful events, our adrenal glands release adrenaline, a hormone which activates our body's defense mechanisms, causing our hearts to pound, blood pressure to rise, muscles to tense, and the pupils of our eyes to dilate. A principal indication of increased stress is an escalation in your pulse rate. However, a normal pulse rate doesn't necessarily mean you aren't stressed. Constant aches and pains, palpitations, anxiety, chronic fatigue, crying, over or under eating, frequent infections, and a decrease in your sexual desire are signs you may notice which indicate you may be under stress. Of course, every time we are under stress, we do not react to such an extreme, and we are not always under such great duress or fear every time we are confronted with a stressful situation. Some people are more susceptible than others to stress. For some, even ordinary daily decisions seem insurmountable. Deciding what to have for dinner or what to buy at the store is a seemingly monumental dilemma for them. On the other hand, there are those people who seem to thrive under stress by becoming highly productive, being driven by the force of pressure. Research shows women with children have higher levels of stress-related hormones in their blood than women without children. Does this mean women without children don't experience stress? Absolutely not. It means that women without children may not experience stress as often or to the same degree which women with children do. This means for women with children, it's particularly important to schedule time for yourself. You will be in a better frame of mind to help your children and meet the daily challenge of being a parent once your stress level is reduced. Anxiety, on the other hand, is a feeling of unease. Everybody experiences it when faced with a stressful situation, for example, before an exam or an interview, or during a worrying time such as illness. It is normal to feel anxious when facing something difficult or dangerous, and mild anxiety can be a positive and useful experience. However, for many people, anxiety interferes with normal life. Excessive anxiety is often associated with other psychiatric conditions, such as depression. Anxiety is considered abnormal when it is very prolonged or severe. It happens in the absence of a stressful event, or it is interfering with everyday activities, such as going to work. Physical symptoms of anxiety. The physical symptoms of anxiety are caused by the brain sending messages to parts of the body to prepare for the fight or flight response. The heart, lungs, and other parts of the body work faster. The brain also releases stress hormones, including adrenaline. Common indicators of excessive anxiety include diarrhea, dry mouth, rapid heartbeat or palpitations, insomnia, irritability or anger, inability to concentrate, fear of being crazy, feeling unreal and not in control of your actions, which is called depersonalization. Anxiety can be brought on in many ways. Obviously, the presence of stress in your life can make you have anxious thoughts. Many people who suffer from anxiety disorders occupy their minds with excessive worry. This can be worry about anything from health matters to job problems to world issues. Certain drugs, both recreational and medicinal, can also lead to symptoms of anxiety due to either side effects or withdrawal from the drug. Such drugs include caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, cold remedies, and decongestants, bronchodilators for asthma, tricyclic antidepressants, cocaine, amphetamines, diet pills, ADHD medications, and thyroid medications. A poor diet can also contribute to stress or anxiety. For example, low levels of vitamin B12. Performance anxiety is related to specific situations, like taking a test or making a presentation in public. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, is a stress disorder that develops after a traumatic event like war, physical or sexual assault, or a natural disaster. In very rare cases, a tumor of the adrenal gland, pheochromocytoma, may be the cause of anxiety. This happens because of an overproduction of hormones responsible for the feelings and symptoms of anxiety. While anxiety may seem a bit scary, what's even scarier is that excessive anxiety and stress can lead to depression. Suffering from depression can be a lifelong struggle, as I well know, but the good news is that all of this is manageable. So having said that, in the ebook for this course, the next chapter includes a self-analysis quiz. Rather than me going through it and practically giving you a one-sided interview, I want to encourage you to check out the ebook and navigate to the self-analysis chapter. Go through that section and answer all of the questions honestly. After doing that, proceed to the next video in this series. The science behind panic attacks. One of the unfortunate outcomes from suffering from excessive stress and anxiety is a physical reaction of your body to the situation. It's like your body is telling you that you need to rest for a moment. Except when you're having a panic attack, it's anything but restful. I had my first panic attack while driving home from a St. Louis Rams football game. We were about 30 miles from our home when I began to feel a bit off. I was having trouble breathing, my body felt disconnected, and my heart was beating at what seemed like 90 miles an hour. I pulled the van off to the side of the highway and got out hoping to walk it off. But it didn't work. No matter what I tried, I couldn't catch my breath. I felt like I was dying. I remember saying over and over again, "Please, not now. I'm not ready." It was horrifying. The good news is that I wasn't dying, obviously. But that night began a terrible journey for me into how my body reacted to excessive stress and anxiety. Since then, I have had many panic attacks, but I also learned how to recognize that one might be coming on and how to control it. I'm not always able to get a hold of it completely, and will occasionally fall into a full-blown panic mode, but it's a lot better than it was. Signs of an oncoming panic attack. So, let's look at the signs that you might be having a panic attack. The following list gives telltale warnings of an oncoming panic attack. Palpitations, a pounding heart or an accelerated heart rate, sweating, trembling or shaking, shortness of breath, a choking sensation, chest pain or discomfort, nausea or stomach cramps, derealization, a feeling of unreality, fear of losing control or going crazy, fear of dying, numbness or tingling sensation in your face and limbs, chills or hot flashes. You would be surprised at how many people go to the hospital emergency room completely sure that they are having a heart attack, only to find out it's a panic attack. They're that intense. It's very difficult for your loved ones to imagine or even understand what you are going through when you have a panic attack. They may lose patience with you, tell you to get over it, or think you're faking. It may help if you show them the following scenario. You're standing in line at the grocery store. It's been a long wait, but there's only one customer to go before you make it to the cashier. Wait, what was that? An unpleasant feeling forms in your throat. Your chest feels tighter. Now a sudden shortness of breath. And what do you know? Your heart skips a beat. Please, God, not here. You make a quick scan of the territory. Is it threatening? 4 unfriendly faces are behind you, and one person is in front. Pins and needles seem to prick you through your left arm. You feel slightly dizzy, and then the explosion of fear as you dread the worst. You are about to have a panic attack. There is no doubt in your mind now that this is going to be a big one. Okay, time for you to focus. You know how to deal with this. At least you hope you do. Start breathing deeply, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Think relaxing thoughts. And again, while breathing in, think, relax, and then breathe out. But it doesn't seem to be having any positive effect. In fact, just concentrating on breathing is making you feel self-conscious and more uptight. Maybe if you try to relax your muscles, tense both shoulders, hold for 10 seconds, then release. Try it again. Nope, still no difference. The anxiety is getting worse, and the very fact that you are out of coping techniques worsens your panic. If only you were surrounded by your family, or a close friend were beside you so you could feel more confident in dealing with this situation. Now, the adrenaline is really pumping through your system. Your body is tingling with uncomfortable sensations, and now the dreaded feeling of losing complete control engulfs your emotions. No one around you has any idea of the sheer terror you are experiencing. For them, it's just a regular day and another frustratingly slow line at the grocery store. You realize you are out of options. It's time to run. You excuse yourself from the line looking embarrassed as it is now that it is your turn to pay. The cashier is looking bewildered as you leave your shopping behind and stroll towards the door. There is no time for excuses. You need to be alone. You leave the supermarket and get into your car to write it out alone. You wonder whether or not this was the big one, the one you fear will push you over the edge mentally and physically. 10 minutes later, the panic subsides. It's only 11 in the morning. How in the world can you make it through the rest of your day? If you suffer from panic or anxiety attacks, the above scenario probably sounds very familiar. It may have even induced feelings of anxiety and panic just reading it. In fact, it was difficult for me just to write it. The particular situations that trigger your panic and anxiety may differ. Maybe the bodily sensations are a little different. What's important to realize is that panic attacks are very real to the people who are having them, and they should never be pushed off to the side. I remember one evening at home when I was by myself watching one of my favorite television programs. I thought I was in a safe place. There was no obvious trigger, and I felt completely relaxed. Out of nowhere, I began having symptoms of a panic attack. The 4 walls of my living room were closing in around me. I couldn't breathe and felt like I was dying. I stepped out onto my front porch for some fresh air, and began deep breathing exercises. The symptoms eventually went away, but it left me wondering why exactly I had that attack. There was no obvious reason, no stressful situation, and no indicator that a panic attack might be impending. That's the strange thing about panic. Sometimes your mind can play tricks on you. Even when you think you're in no danger of having a panic attack, your brain might be feeling differently. That's the scary part. The good part is that there are ways you can combat panic attacks and cope much better when you find yourself in that situation.